weekend, the Conservative Party of Canada had the results of its leadership contest. It's no surprise that Pierre Poilievre won, but what was, I think, somewhat surprising was the strength of his win. More than 68% of all the points on the first ballot. I say points because it wasn't quite votes. He won even more votes, but in the party's system, each electoral district was given 100 points. So if you won 70% of that district, you get 70 points, whether that district had 200 members or 2,000. The idea was to give smaller districts the same weight as bigger districts. This quirk in the rules was supposed to benefit Jean Charest, who thought perhaps and convinced others that he would win the smaller population districts in Quebec. Alas, he did not. Poilievre won almost every district in the country. Here's the moment that was announced to the crowd in the Shaw Convention Center in Ottawa.
Mesdames et messieurs, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I have some results.
I have some results.
It's my great privilege to announce the results. Nous avons un nouveau chef. We have
a new leader.
The next Prime Minister of Canada, prochaine Premier Ministre de Canada.
The next Prime Minister of Canada.
Poilievre and Anna Poilievre.
The Honourable Pierre Poilievre.
It was such a dominant win. The evening came to a close quite quickly. Now, I was down there as I had been on previous in fact, in that very same building, when the party selected other leaders too, except for there were moments where Rebel News was banned by the Conservative Party. You might recall both Andrew Scheer turned against us and Erin O'Toole as well. We have always stayed the same. We're conservative, we're populist, we believe in telling the other side of the story and standing up for the little guy, but for their own reasons, Andrew Scheer and Erin O'Toole blackballed us. What was interesting, we were welcomed by the party this time, not just welcomed, we were set up on what they call a riser at the back of the room, along with all the other media companies, to have our camera pointing at the stage in the front. So we were there at pride of place. In fact, we were right near the center. It was exciting to be back in there. And just walking into the convention center, I went with Alexa Lavoie and our young reporter, William Diaz-Berthiaume from Ottawa, and producer, cameraman, Guillaume Roy. We had an all Francophone team there, actually, which was really fun for me as a Westerner to think how much Rebel News has grown. And it was just walking into the convention center. We couldn't move 10 feet without someone coming over to say hello and congrats to the Rebel and can they take a selfie? Not just me, but of course Alexa, our star from Montreal, who had done such amazing work during the Ottawa convoy. I didn't even have to show ID. They said, oh, Mr. Levant, come here and get your media pass. And the reason I tell you these things is, I mean, they're completely normal. We're media. We would get a media pass. It was a public event. We would go to cover it. Is that the Conservative Party hardened its heart towards us under both Andrew Scheer and Erin O'Toole. They're both gone. In the case of O'Toole, it's because he was not conservative enough. The truckers actually dispatched him. But it was a reminder that just because the party leadership didn't much like our reporting, I tell you, the people in that convention did. They never stopped liking Rebel News. They knew we told it like it was. And frankly, they agreed with us that Erin O'Toole had to go. It's just good luck that the truckers had him thrown out the window. Otherwise, Pierre Poilievre would not now be the leader. And who amongst us could possibly think that tired, timid Erin O'Toole would have a chance against Trudeau as opposed to Pierre Poilievre? Just simply the raw number of memberships that he sold. He claims he sold more than 300,000, and the statistics of his results seems to back that up. Just in terms of the interest and the excitement, literally having thousands of people attend, even in small centers, for his speeches. Who could deny that trading from Erin O'Toole to Pierre Poilievre is a trade up, not just in terms of ideology, but in terms of winnability? So that was very interesting. We were in the right place there. We live streamed our coverage of the event. We had over 100,000 people watch. That puts us in the same league as some mainstream media outlets. And it was just me sitting in a chair with my little ear pods and William filming things on his cell phone. We were very low budget. That's the Rebel News way. And yet we had more coverage and more viewers than many mainstream media outlets. I enjoyed the evening. I enjoyed seeing people that I had been banned from seeing in a long time, either banned by the anti-gathering rules of the lockdowns we've been living under for the last 2 years, or banned by red Tories who didn't like Rebel News much and wouldn't have allowed us in the past. So it was nice to catch up. Over the course of the evening, we had members of Parliament stop by in our Rebel News chair to chat. Here's a member of the party caucus who was not on any particular team because he was part of the interim leadership of the party in the Parliament during the leadership race. It was nice to have him on the show. We had Roman Baber, one of the candidates who fared fairly well. He popped by to give us an update afterwards. Here's just a listen to Roman Baber. I asked him, what's he going to do now? Because I think he made a very strong impression. He got about 5% of the vote, which doesn't sound like a lot, but remember, at the beginning of this, he did not have federal experience. He had never been an MP. He was a member of the provincial parliament under Doug Ford before Ford got rid of him for his principled objection to the lockdowns. For someone who was really only known in one district in the country, to place a strong showing like that was quite impressive, I thought, and I think he's got a bright future. Here's an excerpt from my interview with Roman Baber.
Pierre Poilievre, 68%, very dominant. You were not an MP. You were active in the provincial PC party, but you debuted. I mean, for you to have a 5% ahead of Scott Aitchison, not far behind Jean Charest, I think you rung a bell. I mean, listen, Pierre Poilievre was dominant, but I think you connected with something in the Conservative Party. What do you think that was?
I have to congratulate Pierre on a very decisive victory. He ran a very strong campaign, and I have optimism for the future of the Conservative Party, especially given the depth that he showed tonight and the conciliatory tone that he offered to Jean Charest. I thought that was very good, because the most important thing we need to do right now is unite as a party, embrace all Conservatives, so we can defeat Justin Trudeau and eliminate what I think, frankly, is the existential risk of facing our democracy. Ezra, we've ran a terrific campaign. I've been fighting for Canadian democracy and for millions of Canadians that haven't had a voice for the last couple of years. Of course, it cost me my role with the provincial government, but I'm delighted that without question, we were able to push all the candidates in the democracy direction. And that means we help shape this race and therefore our party and therefore our country.
I just want to emphasize that. I mean, you were the MPP for York Centre and you won that, which is, in the greater Toronto area, not too far north. So that's the kind of turf that the federal party will need to win to get a majority. To go from one district to winning votes across the country, I think people liked the fact that you suffered for the cause. You were kicked out of a government on a point of principle. That feels rare. That's a kind of ethical price to pay that few politicians have done. I think that's why you resonated. And I think you're right. I think the other candidates picked up on your message. How do you feel about Poilievre's comments about the ArriveCan app and mandates and other hangovers from the whole lockdown mania?
That he showed some depth tonight. He didn't scratch the surface. He went into substantive issues and he drew a difference between himself and our Conservative Party and Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. I like the fact that he was very clear that issues of the economy is something that's very, very predominant, but at the same time, he did not leave individual choice and our freedoms aside. And I have every confidence that he will restore freedom of speech and freedom of choice. And at the same time, really resonate with Canadians on what is now turning into a major issue, and that is the cost of living. Justin Trudeau is going to be thinking about the next pair of socks he's going to wear. Pierre Poilievre is going to think about making life for Canadians more affordable.
What you just saw was an excerpt from my nightly show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every weekday, I do a monologue. Usually it's about half an hour. Then I interview an interesting guest, and then we read my hate mail or my fan mail, whichever is more fun. It's only available behind a paywall, though. That's how we pay our bills here at Rebel News. We don't take a dime from Justin Trudeau. But the good news is it's only $8 a month, about half the price of Netflix. And in addition to my nightly show, you also get weekly shows from 4 other friends here at Rebel News. So you're getting 36 shows a month just for $8. I think it's worth it. And even if you're not quite sure, do it anyways, because we rely on viewers like you to keep us free and independent. I promise you I'll never take a dime from Trudeau. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and click subscribe. Thanks.